Thanks for listening to the PXP Podcast. It's a show about leadership, self-development, personal growth, and accountability. I'm your host, Jayme Yarroch. Now, you can catch our podcast on almost any podcast player: Apple, Google, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and so many more. We're also on YouTube. You can find us at pxppodcast.com, and of course, you can always find us on our host on the Podbean app. Now, if you have questions, or if you want to hear a particular topic discussed, or if you'd even like to be a guest on the show, email me at ask@pxppodcast.com, or give us a call at 334-633-3300. Now, are you ready to kick off today's show? All right, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to PXP. Coming to you live from the Cloffice. That is the closet office. If you're just joining us, if you've never listened to us before, we record out of a closet. We call it the Cloffice. It's our closet office. Well, it is April, my friends. Hard to believe that it's already the fourth month of the year. In Alabama, April means that it's about to start getting hot. We've had a lot of fake springs so far this year. Those are those fake springs is where it feels like it's about to be spring, but then it gets cold again. In Alabama, we have like 3 or 4 or 5 fake springs, and then it just goes to blistering hot. Like it's going to be we'll be sweating here when you walk out the front door in just a minute. But I would much rather be hot than I would be cold, so you're not going to hear me complain about it. I like it. I like summertime way better than I do wintertime. Well, let's jump into today's podcast. Today's podcast was inspired, if you will, or based off of a conversation I was having. I was on the phone this morning with a mid-level manager, and he was extremely frustrated with the senior leadership in his organization because of COVID and all the things, the shipping delays and all that kind of stuff. Some of the supplies that they use to make their finished products have been delayed, and so they haven't been able to adequately get their products out because of the delay in getting the supplies that they need. And so the end result of that, the domino effect, is that they haven't been able to meet their projections. And so the senior leadership has been coming down really hard on this manager and his team for not meeting their numbers. And so we talked about it, and I gave him some recommendations on how best to communicate those frustrations. And, you know, I believe that communication can solve the vast majority of problems, not all of them. There's some certain circumstances where no matter how well you communicate or the type of person you're communicating to, you know, some problems just can't be resolved. But 95% of all issues can be resolved through communication. And so we talked about the best way to communicate some of those frustrations, and I gave him some recommendations there. And we chatted about how, a strategy moving forward and, that kind of stuff. And so the conversation itself, that conversation would make probably for a good podcast. But what I really wanted to share with you today is more about his source of frustration, where that frustration is coming from his part. You see, in his eyes, and based on what he shared with me, I think he's probably right. The senior leadership has no idea of the challenges that he and his team face as a result of all these material shortages that they're having. They've offered absolutely no guidance or very little guidance or any assistance in developing any meaningful solutions. And so they continue to face these problems. And until the material shortages go away, they're just going to continue to face these issues. And so instead of the senior leadership helping to develop solutions and helping to overcome the challenges, they threaten the employees with termination. They curse at the employees. They continue to hand out unreasonable directives, and really the root cause of their inability to assist comes down to the fact that they don't understand the environment or the process or how the projects are completed. They don't have a detailed enough or a deep enough understanding of what this manager and his team do on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I want to talk about today. As a leader, particularly one that has been brought in from the outside, maybe you came from another company or you came from another department, you've got to understand, you must understand every piece of the business. I mean, you've got to get in there and get your hands dirty, so to speak. I mean, you may not be in a manufacturing facility or a facility where, you're actually getting your hands dirty. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, but you got to get in there and spend time with your direct reports. I'm certainly not saying that you should be the expert in everything that's done in the organization. That's not possible. The people that are doing those tasks on a daily basis, they're going to be the experts in it. But you've got to understand how the process runs. You've got to understand how the equipment works. You got to understand how long things take, what kind of time frame you're talking about. You've got to understand the challenges that your people face, that the teams face, and so on. You've got to get in there and figure it out, and you've got to learn those things. And that takes time and effort. To lead without a complete understanding of the work that's being done makes you an ineffective and, frankly, an unacceptable leader. Now, that may mean that you've got to put in a ton of extra time and a ton of extra effort to learn what you don't know. This stuff doesn't just come by osmosis. You can't just sit at your desk in your fancy office and understand and just learn what happens. You've got to go to where the team is. You've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the effort. You got to get in there and work side by side with these people. That may mean you pull your chair up to their desk and you say, hey, show me how to do this. Or that may mean you go put your hands on a piece of equipment in the shop and you say, hey, teach me how to run this thing. Or I want to see how this thing works. I want to understand the challenges you face on a day-to-day basis using this piece of equipment. Maybe it's a piece of software that you don't understand how it works, and you need to sit down with one of the people on your team and you need to watch them use this piece of software, because maybe there are some roadblocks or some challenges or some hiccups that you can help overcome if you know they exist. Without putting your eyes on it or your hands on it, you really can't understand the challenges that your people face. You're going to have to follow them around. You're going to have to read the manuals. You're going to have to ask questions. And I get it. Sometimes asking questions from a leadership position takes courage. But look, you're going to have to do it. Too many times we think that asking questions means we don't know something, and that means we're a less effective leader. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Asking questions, trying to understand what it is that your direct reports or your team, what the challenges are that they face, what it is that they do on a day-to-day basis, that's only going to make them respect you even more. Think about it. If you were working on a project and your superior came to you and said, hey, will you help me understand what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis so that I can better help you overcome the challenges that you face? Wow. How amazing would that be, right? You would immediately be like, yeah, heck yeah. Come on, let me show you what I do. Without understanding what they do or the challenges they face, how can you really lead them? I mean, when they come to you with a concern, how can you really understand what they're saying? Or furthermore, how can you hold them accountable for what your expectations are in their job if you don't even understand how or what their job is or how they do it? How can you clearly define what those expectations are for them if you don't even understand the process? Look, it's not enough that you come to an organization with experience in leadership and then just expect that you're going to excel. You've got to immerse yourself in the details of the particular organization or the business unit or the department in order to be an effective leader in that role. And look, maybe you have already been in that role for a while and you still don't know what your people do or how they do it or how the equipment works or how the software runs or how the process runs. It's never too late to learn, right? Go spend time with the team. Be a team player. Learn what makes the organization run. Learn what makes it great. When you do that, you're going to be in a much better position to affect positive change. And when you approach it from that perspective, your team is going to support you in the process. Look, if I was a betting man, I would just about guarantee that you've probably worked for a leader that didn't know anything about the job that you did, but then wanted to tell you how to do your job. I know that I have, and shit, I probably was that leader in my early days. Don't be that leader. Be one that people want to follow. Be one that is respected within and without the organization. Be the leader that moves the organization forward but you move it forward based on your solid understanding of the people, the ones that are getting the work done, the processes that they follow, how they're doing things, and then the challenges that they face. My challenge to you is to be that kind of leader. And remember, I am here to help. Your first 2 leadership coaching sessions are absolutely free. I think it's super important that you jive with your coach. I've been there in a situation where I didn't jive with my coach, and it was a train wreck. So before you spend time and money on your own self-development through coaching, I want to make sure that we're a good fit. We can do that coaching, whatever's convenient to you, over the phone, over Zoom. If you're local to me, it can be in person. It can be virtually through our Verbella team room. If you want more info, send me an email at ask@pxppodcast.com, ask@pxppodcast.com, or you can call or text to 334-633-3300. I'll put that info in the show notes as well. Well, that's all the time I've got for today, folks. Thanks for listening to PXP. And as always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your circle. Chances are, if you like it, they're going to like it too. Most of all, though, I hope that something that was said today helps you to become a better version of yourself. I'm your host, Jayme Yarroch, and I hope you have an amazing day.